Imagine this. The sun has just disappeared. You have no house, no flashlight, no locked door, no phone to call for help. Somewhere in the darkness, something is already hunting. And there's a very real chance you're the prey. Now ask yourself one question. Could you survive? Just one night? For nearly all of human history, night wasn't a time to rest. It was a test. A test that determined whether you would ever see another sunrise. Every evening, our ancestors entered a world where their greatest advantage disappeared. Their eyes became almost useless. Their enemies were just getting started. Thousands of generations survived these nights, but only because they learned secrets that most people today have completely forgotten. Tonight, we're going back over 50,000 years to discover what really happened after the sun went down. Because the truth is far stranger than fiction. To understand ancient nights, we first need to understand ancient humans. Despite everything we've accomplished, we evolved as creatures of daylight. Our color vision, our depth perception, our ability to spot movement from far away, all of it works best under the sun. Many of the animals sharing that world evolved in the opposite direction. Their hearing was sharper. Their sense of smell was stronger. Some could detect movement where humans saw nothing at all. Recent archaeological discoveries suggest ancient humans didn't simply fear the night. They organized their entire lives around it. The search for shelter often began long before sunset, because everyone understood one terrifying reality. If darkness arrived first, it might already be too late. Finding shelter wasn't about comfort. It was about survival. A good cave offered only a few advantages. Solid rock, a narrow entrance, and one place where a small fire could hold back a very dangerous world. But here's the part most people never think about. What happened after everyone was finally inside? Did they immediately fall asleep? Did they stay awake all night? Did they tell stories? Stand guard? Or were they constantly waiting for something outside to make the first move? The answer begins with one discovery: fire. Without it, humanity may never have survived long enough to build civilization. Today, we think of fire as something ordinary. A match, a lighter, the push of a button. But for ancient humans, a single flame could mean the difference between life and extinction. Archaeologists have uncovered ancient horrors that suggest people gathered around controlled fires hundreds of thousands of years ago. Those blackened circles of ash tell an extraordinary story. When the sun disappeared, human life didn't stop. It simply moved closer to the flames. The fire gave them warmth. It illuminated faces. It made tough food easier to digest. And perhaps most importantly, many predators hesitated before crossing its light. Not because they couldn't, but because they weren't sure what it was. But the fire had one dangerous weakness. It was always dying. Every minute, every hour, the flames demanded more wood. Ignore them for too long, and the darkness came back. That meant someone almost certainly stayed awake. Not because they wanted to, because someone had to. Someone listened. Someone watched. Someone kept the fire alive. Modern researchers studying traditional societies have found that uninterrupted 8-hour sleep is surprisingly uncommon without artificial lighting. Many people naturally wake during the night. Ancient humans may have done exactly the same, only they woke for a very different reason. Imagine opening your eyes, not because of an alarm clock, but because you thought you heard breathing just beyond the entrance. You don't know what it is. You don't know if it's alone. And you don't know if it knows you're awake. Children slept closest to their parents. The oldest members of the group stayed near the warmest part of the fire. Experienced hunters often rested nearest the entrance. If something attacked, they would face it first. But surviving wasn't the only thing happening inside that cave. Because once the day's hunting was over, for the first time, people had something incredibly valuable. Time. Time to think. Time to teach. Time to remember. And perhaps time to become human in a way no other animal ever could. The campfire became something no predator could ever create. A place where experience could outlive the people who lived it. Where one person's mistake could save another person's life. And where the oldest technology in human history wasn't a spear. It was a story. Long before there were schools, or books, or even written words, the most important classroom on Earth was a circle of people sitting around a fire. Every story carried a lesson, not because it was entertaining, but because forgetting it could be fatal. One story explained which berries made people sick. Another warned where lions liked to ambush their prey. Another remembered a river that flooded without warning. Knowledge became humanity's greatest weapon. Unlike claws, knowledge didn't disappear when someone died. As long as another person remembered the story, the lesson survived. Generation after generation. For thousands of years. But not everyone spent the night listening. Some people were still working. Tomorrow's hunt depended on what happened tonight. Stone spear points were carefully sharpened. Broken tools were repaired. Animal hides became warmer clothing. Every small improvement made survival slightly more likely. Archaeologists have discovered microscopic wear on ancient stone tools, suggesting many were repaired again and again, instead of being thrown away. Every resource mattered, because replacing it wasn't easy. Children have responsibilities too. Some collected dry wood before sunset. Others carried water. The oldest watched over the youngest. Even the smallest pair of hands helped the group survive. Outside, the wilderness never slept. Hyenas searched for scraps. Owls hunted silently through the trees. Wolves called to one another across the valleys. Every sound told a story. If you knew how to listen, ancient humans slowly learned something extraordinary. Silence could be even more dangerous than noise. Because when every smaller animal suddenly stopped moving, it often meant a larger predator had arrived. The fire demanded constant attention. Too little wood, and fear returned. Too much, and precious fuel disappeared before dawn. Keeping a fire alive wasn't luck. It was a skill, one perfected over thousands of generations. Then there were the cave walls themselves. For decades, people believed the paintings were simply decoration. But today, many researchers think something much more fascinating was happening. When flames flickered, the uneven stone surfaces made painted animals appear to move. A running horse seemed to gallop. A charging bison seemed alive. The cave itself became the world's very first movie theater. And when the stories ended, many people looked upward, beyond the cave entrance, beyond the mountains, toward a sky overflowing with stars. The same stars we still see tonight.